The Boston Celtics are moving fast, and the timing of everything matters. Tuesday night was not just another regular season win. Boston went into Dallas and won 110-100. Pushed the record to 32 wins and 18 losses, and extended the streak to 3. Jaylen Brown scored 33 points, Peyton Pritchard added 26 off the bench. And all of it happened just hours after a trade that changed the direction of the roster. Anfernee Simons was sent to Chicago, Nikola Vucevic arrived in Boston, and suddenly, one question became even louder. What does this mean for Jayson Tatum? Before we go deeper, pause right here. If you want real Boston Celtics news with context, urgency, and no wasted time, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the hype button now. Because what we are about to break down matters, and it connects directly to the future of this season. Jayson Tatum has been at the center of the league conversation after his appearance on the Pivot podcast, where he openly admitted he is rethinking whether he should play at all this season. That statement alone shifted expectations. It forced the Celtics, the locker room, and the front office into a new reality. And on Tuesday night, Jaylen Brown finally addressed it publicly, with a level of honesty that says more than it seems. Brown made it clear that he has been watching Tatum closely. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. He acknowledged the ups and downs that come with adversity at this level. And his message was direct: do what is best for you. Brown emphasized that recovery is not only about the body. Even if you feel physically ready, the mind has to be ready. The spirit has to be ready. That perspective matters, especially coming from the leader who has carried this team night after night. But do not mistake maturity for lowered expectations. Brown said it plainly: winning is the priority. Another deep playoff run is the goal, and Jayson Tatum is a massive part of that equation. The Celtics trust his decision-making, but they also know exactly what his return would mean: stability, star power, a clear ceiling for this roster. Now look at the trade. Brad Stevens does not make moves in a vacuum, sending Simons and a second-round pick for Nikola Vucevic, while also receiving a second-round pick back, is not the action of a team preparing for next year. Vucevic is a veteran in his mid-30s. He helps now. He fills a need now that matters with the trade deadline arriving on February 5th. If the internal expectation was that Tatum would sit for the rest of the season, this deal makes far less sense. You do not reshape your frontcourt for a lost year. You do it because you believe something is coming. You do it because you expect this group to compete when it matters most. Jaylen Brown's words were careful, but they were not empty. They were layered: support on the surface, belief underneath, and urgency behind the scenes. So here is the real question that hangs over everything. Are the Celtics quietly preparing for Jayson Tatum's return sooner than anyone expects? And if that happens, is the rest of the Eastern Conference ready for what Boston is clearly building right now? The Boston Celtics made their move, and the reaction around the league was instant and divided. Anfernee Simons is out, Nikola Vucevic is in. At first glance, it may not look like a headline-stealing blockbuster, but timing and context make this deal far more important than it initially appears. With the trade deadline on February 5th approaching, Boston finally addressed a question that had lingered for months. Who would stabilize the center position when the margins tighten? This trade is not about star power. It is about structure, control, and offensive reliability. By flipping Simons and his expiring contract for Vucevic, the Celtics signaled a clear priority: improve the front court without disrupting the defensive progress already made this season. Luka Garza and Nenaz Queta filled gaps admirably, but Boston did not want to rely on emergency solutions when games slow down and possessions matter more. Here is the key upgrade that many critics are overlooking. Nikola Vucevic does not replace Queta's defensive role, and he does not need to. What he does is raise the offensive floor at the center position. Garza has been efficient in limited minutes, but efficiency changes when defensive attention increases. Vucevic has lived with that attention for years and still produces. Vucevic brings volume scoring, reliable shooting, playmaking from the post, and spacing that stretches defenses beyond the paint. He averages nearly 17 points, 9 rebounds, and close to 4 assists per game, while shooting over 50% from the field. That matters for a Celtics offense that thrives on ball movement and decision-making under pressure. There is also the gravity factor. Defenses react differently to Vucevic. He draws help, opens driving lanes, and creates cleaner looks for Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard. In pick-and-roll situations, he is among the most productive finishers in the league. Above the break, he is a legitimate three-point threat. That combination forces defenses to choose. And Boston thrives when opponents hesitate. Yes, questions remain about defensive consistency. That is fair, but this move was never about defense alone. It was about balance. It was about ensuring that when Boston needs offense from the center spot, it is not a gamble. And now the urgency becomes real. Teams do not add a veteran center in his mid-30s if they are standing still. They do it because they believe the window is open right now. The Celtics did not just move salary. They made a statement about intent. So here is the question that defines everything going forward. Is this trade simply a subtle upgrade? Or is it the clearest signal yet that Boston is positioning itself for something much bigger? Before the postseason even begins, the Anfernee Simons trade means more than most fans realize, and it showed up in a quiet moment that said everything when the Celtics left Dallas late Tuesday night. One seat on the team plane was suddenly empty. Simons was gone, headed to Chicago. Nikola Vucevic was in, and the locker room felt it immediately. This was not just a transaction on a deadline board. This was a shift inside the building. Simons was part of the daily rhythm, the flights, the road trips, the conversations that never show up on a box score. Teammates talked openly about the relationships, the families, the routines that get broken when February 5th approaches. Players understand the business, but that does not erase the human cost. What matters here is why Boston made this decision now. 16 players were traded across the league on Tuesday alone. Chaos everywhere, and yet the Celtics stayed calculated. They moved an expiring contract. They brought in a veteran center. They accepted the emotional hit inside the locker room for a reason. Joe Mazzulla addressed the team directly, not with cliches, with honesty. He acknowledged that players are human, that families are involved, that this part of the season tests more than basketball ability. That matters because it tells you how Boston is handling pressure internally while preparing for something bigger. Jaylen Brown made it clear. Simons earned respect. He helped win games. He fit the group, but the organization still moved forward. That tells you this trade was not about comfort. It was about direction. The Celtics beat Dallas 110-100, improved to 32 wins and 18 losses, but the post-game mood was different. This one came with reflection, with awareness, with understanding that February changes everything. Here is the part most fans miss. Teams do not accept this kind of disruption unless they believe the payoff is worth it. This move was about flexibility, timing, and sending a message internally. Boston is not standing still. They are choosing intention over attachment. So ask yourself this. If trading Anfernee Simons created this much emotional weight, what does it say about what the Celtics are preparing for next, and who they believe they need on the floor when the season truly turns? If you want real Celtics coverage that goes beyond the surface, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the hype button now, because the next move might already be closer than it looks.